we go. Wait, take.
He's got Ben Trope at the 15, at the 10, hurdle the man, spins to the 5. Oh my, still on his feet, still pounding to the goal line. He's gonna score!
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is no weddings in the fall because, quite frankly, who the hell getting married? We got football on. That's why we do this thing. But you're not here to talk with me. Let's go to our main man of the show, Ben Skadoop Troop. What's going on, my brother? How are you?
Jason, it's been too long. It feels like it's already been a whole month since I've seen you last. But you are right. College football is officially back. We made it. And listen, as football fans, whether you college or pro, the hardest thing is the offseason. It seems like it's getting longer and longer and longer, but we got some games to get in here real fast. But hey, man, we already got week 0. We got people going all the way across the pond to get an L. We giving out L's across the pond now. But college football is back. Week 0 is in the books. But the greatest day in college sports is coming. Week 1 is officially here, and I am so looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got a lot of exciting things to talk about. It's funny you brought up that game. As I was looking at it while it was going on, I forgot it was in Dublin. I'm like, where are they? And it took me, and then I heard him mention it. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. So yeah, that was actually a really cool way to kick off the college football season. Just so you guys are aware, we love your comments. We love your likes. We love when you subscribe. So do us a favor, do those little things, because little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. We do appreciate that. Also, if you go to Underdog Fantasy, use the promo code TROOP. He'll double your deposit up to $100, ladies and gentlemen. Can't get no easier than that. It's going to be a lot of great stuff on Underdog coming up because we got obviously fantasy stuff. We got college stuff. They got golf stuff. They got everything on there. Go check them out. We'll double your deposit on there. So make sure you go check that out. All right, Ben. Well, like we talked about, we had a great college football beginning, if you will. If there's any indication of how this football season is going to start out, we certainly got a good taste of it there. The grills are getting fired up. I don't know what they're grilling in Ireland, but whatever. Some potatoes or something. The smell of fresh grass in the air. So what I want to know before we kick it off, start talking about the FSU game and everything else, what's the reasons you love college football so much?
I love college football, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible. It is idiot-proof. Yes, and I'm not calling you an idiot. If you feel as though I am, hey, man, the shoe fits. With all the things that go into college football, NIL, transfer portal, coaches getting fired, sanctions, recruiting violations. When the ball gets kicked off, all that goes away. And what I love the most about college football, Jason, is, look, some of these guys are playing for their NFL lives. They don't realize it's going to be the last time they're going to play football. Some of them are going to the same schools that their dads went to, moms went to, trying to carry on the legacy. But it's the greatest assortment of football you're ever going to see. If there was a menu, and not to give them any free pub, but if you've ever been to the Cheesecake Factory, they got the biggest menu on the planet. It looks like a small phone book for those of us old enough to know about phone books, Jay. But I just like the fact that the next great one is get to announce himself. I don't know what school is going to be at. Is it going to be a big school, a small school, a no-name school? College football gives you the best array of talent from, and now because of people like Deion Sanders, for which we'll get to later on the show, we got to look at football past the Mason-Dixon line. We got football in the Midwest, in the West. But what I love the most about college football is with so much that go on in the offseason, so many different movements, we are actually here. It is time. And listen, Jay, your wife, I don't know how it is. My wife has already told me, so are you going to be predisposed on Saturday? I said, listen, that's a fancy word of saying I'm not going to be available. Hell yeah, I'm not going to be available on Saturday, but I will be in the house. So if I'll try to take out the trash during the commercial break. But if I yell out and somebody scream, I will not forgive her for it. But yes, we have made it. I'm looking forward to just college football officially kicking off.
My wife's the same, although our deal is as long as I cook, we good. So I'm good with that. Stuff in the crock pot, I grill, we good, man. I ain't got nothing to worry about. So I got a little bit different take than you do on the college football aspect off the field, actually. For me, it's the energy that's around the college football fan base, if you will. there's nothing like it in the NFL. I mean, there's some great NFL following teams that have some great followings. Steelers come to mind. There's some, but I've been to other stadiums, been to big games, and there's just not that feel that you would get at a college game. Quick funny story. I was going to the University of Miami Penn State game when I was 18 with my buddy Craig, and we're driving. We happen to be a little late, so and if you ever been to the old Orange Bowl, it's not very good. There wasn't a lot of parking, so we were pretty far from the stadium, and we a little juiced up. So I was like, bro, we running. I don't care. So we run it, and by the time we get there, now I can feel like I can hardly breathe. Mind you, you know what I mean? I had a little extracurricular activities in my lungs too, so I was really feeling it. But when soon as I stepped in that stadium, all I could feel was this doom doom, and I heard the band playing, and it felt like I was on the opening kickoff, just waiting for that ball, and I was ready to go. I sprinted straight up to our nosebleed seats in like an instant. So, but that's the difference, though. I think for me, why I love college so much is the atmosphere and the camaraderie that you feel that you don't necessarily get with the NFL. But
Jason, a fully grown man paying taxes, right? You know what I'm saying? Paying, as my dad said, you pay taxes, you're paying for maintenance, you're paying for gas, you get all the way to the stadium, and that aura that is college football engulfed you. I can only imagine you running up to your nosebleeds. People like, who is this dude? Don't worry about me. I ran this far to get here. I wish somebody would. At Central Texas, I wish somebody would be sitting in my seat. And I ran this far. But hey, man, I think you just encapsulated it. The energy that is college football. For those of you that have never really been to a game in person, do yourself a favor.
Oh yeah.
Pick a team that you actually like. Don't just pick a random game. Pick a team that you like and just go to the stadium. The outside of the stadium, the inside, concessions, the game itself, it's a lot going on. You're going to feel like you ran a marathon. If the game is actually good in the heat, listen, beer got invented for hot stadiums. That's why they invented it. I'm sorry, people, that's why. Well, it really got invented for baseball because you got to find a way to make it through the game. But that's another thing for another show. But, hey, man, shout out to Jason, man. Listen, your friend, y'all ran all the way there, ran up to them nosebleeds. Hey, man, shout out to y'all, man, making it happen.
Yeah, I will just say, though, if somebody was in my seat, I don't know if I had even the breath to say anything, to be honest.
Do I got to get the usher? Do I got to get security to get you out?
I'd be like, I'm just going to sit right here in the middle of the aisle, bro. I'm good. All right, let's get on. We got some little segments for this show. So let's get on. We're going to talk about what happened last week, but it was last weekend. We're going to go with the week on repeat. Well, the biggest thing, I already opened with it, so it's not like I'm killing the news here, but obviously FSU against Georgia Tech, ranked number 10 in the nation, and Georgia Tech not ranked at all, so we weren't expecting much when they went over to Dublin, but what a game it turned out to be, indeed, coming down to the leg of Aiden Burr. Now, I've never played college ball, Ben, but I will tell you that every time that there is a kicker that wins like a game, all I can think about is, man, that boy getting some booty tonight. So great job, Aiden Burr. I'm sure you had a great time that night. You were in Ireland, so when you got back anyway. But a great way to kick off college football. Nonetheless, they win 24-21, Georgia Tech. What are your thoughts on the way this kicked off, and thoughts on FSU season?
I loved it. I loved it for everything you just said and then some. When you got a team like Florida State only losing one game a year ago in the bowl game, going undefeated in the regular season, people assume that that's just going to, pick up. You're going to pick up a 2024 where you left off in 2023. You got to replace a lot. But the main place you had to place it was at the quarterback position. No more Jordan Travers. I hope he's getting better up there with the Jets. DJU Anglele. And I hope I said his name correct. Started off at Clemson, went to Oregon State, on team number 3 of Florida State. I'm not saying he's the reason why they lost. I'm just saying he didn't help a lot with the win because you just expect him to go up there and pick up where he left off. But what I liked the most about it was Georgia Tech was a team. Let me tell y'all something. When no one expects you to do anything, you could play free. You could play loose. Them boys were playing free and loose. They had the passing game really wasn't what they wanted to be. The run game was so-so. Haynes King, kid listen, another transfer quarterback, at Georgia Tech. I'm just happy for Georgia Tech being a Georgia native. Can't stand the Bulldogs, by the way. Got recruited by Georgia Tech coming out of high school. Sometimes, Jason, good things happen to good people. And Georgia Tech said, listen, Florida State, I don't know what they told y'all, but last year's price ain't today's price. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that Georgia Tech said, all right, Florida State, if y'all better than us, blow us out. But if we got any sign of life in the fourth quarter, and as you mentioned, the kickers are people too. The kicker, who is a person, came out. Not only did he win that thing, I don't know how long of a flight it is from America to Dublin, Ireland. I know it's long. I know it's long. At least, listen, I don't know how many, and I'm just keeping it the buck. I don't know how many sober 21-year-olds that was on that plane ride back coming from Florida State, but Georgia Tech, hey man, they in the ATL. So I mean, I'm just happy for both squads to kick it off. Mike Norvell, head coach of Florida State, big time aspirations in the offseason, a lot of big talk. Hey, right now you 0-1 in the ACC. By the way, this was an in-conference opponent. But shout out to them Georgia Tech boys getting past the Jeff Collins era, get a big win because now. Hey, everybody thought that because I was ranked number 10, was Florida State the 10th best team in the country? Oh, what's that based off of 2023? Well, I know that Georgia Tech got another game and Florida State got another game coming up this weekend. One of them is 1-0 and the other one, well, Tallahassee, listen, man, I know y'all in the same city as the governor, with Tallahassee being the capital. Outside of that, hey, I'm a Florida guy, so I'm always going to be biased when it comes to my Gators and try not to be as biased when it comes to Florida State. But to the Florida State fan base, pipe down. To the Florida State Seminoles, the actual team, hey, man, it's only week 1, week 0 for y'all, Case. And, hey, man, at least, listen, it was week 0. Y'all still, 0 in that win column, 1 in that loss column. We'll see if y'all can get back to your winning ways this weekend or coming this upcoming Monday.
We're going to talk a little more in a little bit about rankings because we're going to talk about NFL/college. The reason why I'm bringing this up is, you brought up an interesting point, how, right now there's a lot of parity in college football. It's finally here, guys. So I think college football, in my estimation, may have a bit of an issue with continuing the same old thing, I guess, if you will, because the parity now, and you don't have those big dominant teams that you used to have back in the day, that it was an easy way to just call them number one. It's not so easy anymore. So, again, just speaking about this game, it's interesting how, Georgia Tech wasn't ranked at all and was able to pull off this victory against the 10th ranked team. Who's ranking these people? That's what I like to know. All right, well, speaking of rankings, so we're talking about it. Let's talk about this season and how this top 25, I guess, or really just top 10, because we can go through this whole thing all night, if you will. I'm kind of curious of the teams. Obviously, you say, you're not a big Georgia fan, but obviously they come in at number 1, the big heavy set favorite. Ohio State at 2, Oregon at 3, Texas at 4, Alabama at 5. Those are kind of those I was just talking about. You don't have those big big teams. Those are kind of those same old that's been kind of sticking around here for the past few years. So your thoughts, who do you think is going to have a big season this year in college football?
I mean, obviously, surprise. I think the Bulldogs are the creme de la creme right now in college football. That's hard for me to say being a Florida guy, but, I mean, they are what they have been. I mean, they won 29 straight games. I want to say that. Only lost. I think they were the best team in the country last year. They just, they lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game. They are the 5th team. They're the odd team out. You mentioned Ohio State. There is loaded, and then there is Ohio State. They are low. I'm talking about they like 2 or 3 deep at every single position. Coach Day no longer has to deal with the fact that Harbaugh, who's moved on to LA, can they find a way to just run through that conference and find a way to beat the Michigan Wolverines this year, the last game of the year? Because if they don't do that, it's gonna be much to do about nothing. I mean, Texas, Ewers and Steve Sarkisian and Burnt Orange. Look. They down 2 starting running backs right now. They got to go with their 3rd or 4th string running back. They loaded, but they're in the SEC. And I'm not saying they can't have their way in the SEC. I'm just saying They used to go to a table that was not crowded. When they get in there now, not only is it crowded, it ain't but a couple of seats at the table. They're like, hey, man, hey, listen, hurry up and sit down, brother. Somebody sit at your – they're going to have to show that they're ready for the SEC, which I think they are. And, you know, you talk about Alabama. Coach DeBoer, I mean, he's taking over for the GOAT. I mean, listen, would I take his money? Yes. Would I take his position? No. I don't want to be following Nick Saban at all, because you know how it is, Jason. When he loses, he's not going to go undefeated. When he loses, Nick Saban would have did this. Saban would have did that. Saban's gone, right? I don't know why Saban left, and did he go right into the booth? He want to keep making checks. His wife said, listen, I don't want to spend that much time with you, Nick. Maybe go to the booth, and I'll see you every other day. But I think a team in the top 10 that's going to do really, really good this year is Ole Miss. Now, here's the thing about Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, listen, may his father, Money Kiffin, a guy got to spend a couple of a season with the Tampa Bay Bucks. May he rest in peace, man. The godfather, founder of the Tampa 2 defense. Watch out for Ole Miss, man. I think they're going to be really, really good this year. Jackson Dart, their quarterback, is a Heisman hope. He's a Heisman hopeful. They went 11-2 last year. That's the best season in Ole Miss history. I think they got a shot. But here's the thing, Jason. Just like Florida State was ranked 10th and everybody's watching, when the pressure is on, listen, man, pressure do two things. Listen, it busts pipes or create diamonds. There will not be no in between. We will see what happens with the Ole Miss boys. And Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, they're in the top 10. They only got the regular season. While everybody else got to go to a conference championship game, Notre Dame said, we got touchdown Jesus. We don't got to go to no conference championship game. We got Rudy. Got a freaking movie named after us. Marcus Freeman and company got a big one to start out the season. If they win game one, and I mean this respectfully, they don't hardly play anybody for the rest of the season. But, the top 10 is what the top 10 is. And, like I said, the top 10 was with the Florida State Seminoles. Right there at 10. We see what happened. Is anybody on upset alert? Yes. That would be Notre Dame and Georgia. Not because Texas A&M is better than Notre Dame or Clemson is better than Georgia. Florida State just shows you don't know what you got in week 0 or week 1. We're trying to work these kinks out. Hey, Clemson, do the whole world a favor. You want to create chaos in week 1? Get that done. But it is in the Georgia Dome, where Georgia doesn't lose. The only people Georgia lose to in the Georgia Dome is Alabama, and your name is Dabo, not Nick. So we'll see what happens with the Clemson and Georgia boys. But shout out to the top 10. As you mentioned, though, Jason, I don't know if it's the top 10 or they just got to pick 10. Now, I ain't talking about Georgia. I ain't talking about Alabama and Ohio State and Texas. But Florida State, they was the 10. They lost to a team from Atlanta that was unranked. So to get to a point that you made, Jason, do we really need rankings to start out the season? No, let's play a couple of games. Oh, yeah. We don't want to do that because that will create what? Equality across, fairness. We don't want that. God, no, we don't want that in college football. So, but shout out to the top 10, man. Hopefully it'll be some more upsets this weekend. Not because, I like chaos. Oh, that's right. I do. I love chaos. Like I love it in the NCAA tournament. So, hey, Clemson, they know the thing. If y'all, hey, Clemson and Texas A&M, y'all want to, do something crazy, go out there and get a dub week 1.
So going back to the point we were talking about with the rankings, I kind of equate it, and I know it's different in the sense that those kids are there, growing essentially with the team. In the NFL, I only equate this to, I can even put it to fantasy. It's a little easier for me to process and explain. But, for me, when I'm looking at fantasy matchups, say, in week 6 of last year, I know that the Bengals run defense isn't that good. And I know that, this team's defense is good. So I can base those. But in week 1, I have no idea because we don't know. They're not on the field. So in the same sense of what we're talking about, let these guys play a little bit, because how can you rank teams without even seeing them on the field and how they operate and how they play? As you mentioned, you brought up a good point about pressure, because I know I haven't been close to the level you've been at, but just on the levels of what I played, just even football, or even just equate it to a softball sometimes, adult softball leagues. pressure does something. Pressure does things to different people. So for an example of even not necessarily, and I don't mean like, last minute drive. I just mean the fact that you got to go play a game and maybe even a big game. And it does something to you. You know that some people practice well. Some people look great in practice, but when it comes to game time, like they're not as, and then there's some guys you'll see, they don't want to practice. They don't want to do nothing. But when it comes to game time, that's the dude you want on your bunker. So interesting that you brought all that up, because that again to me makes again the college football aspect in the beginning at least of the season confusing, and as you said, doesn't make it a fair playing field, unfortunately. All right, well, let's go on. We're going to talk about something off the field that happened. I'm interested in your thoughts, because there's a lot of like off the field stuff again, that's happened, during the time we haven't talked about it because this is the first time we've been on. But let's talk about Neon Dion and Colorado banning the Denver Post columnist Sean Keeler from asking him questions, or other members of the football program. Basically, they were citing he's, it's been a long time that he's kind of chastised not only the program, but the coaches themselves. And that's kind of where they're standing on, which is really odd to me, because it's like, isn't there freedom of the press and freedom of the speech? Like, what are we talking about here? Anyway, Ben, what are your thoughts on this situation?
When I first heard it, I didn't believe it. Like when I first read it, because sometimes media is very sensationalized. Sometimes people are trying to get clickbait media. But I went to some previous press conference that Deion Sanders was doing, and let me just say this: there are coaches, and then there's Deion Sanders. He knows he's in a different category. He knows that he's the most polarizing celebrity, college football coach there is. And he knows he's interesting, right? Because his resume, we can never just look at him through the eyes of just being a coach. That's prime time. That's baseball. That's football. That's the greatest cornerback, and I think that's the part that I don't like. He's the head coach of Colorado, right? He's a Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Fame coach. He's a Hall of Famer that coaches, because people don't separate the two people. A columnist got banned. Columnists and journalists are different. Journalists went to journalism school. They got a degree for it. They got to get sources. They got to get facts. A columnist is there to give their opinion. Let me tell you what I learned about Deion Sanders. Great father, great motivator. Charisma just oozes out of him. Man, that boy, listen, he's thick. He's very, very thin-skinned, right? And he used his celebrity to get his way, right? And he comes off, looking like a bully, because it's like, hold on for a second. You do your opening comments, and when you get to this gentleman, hey man, why are you always talking bad about us? Well, you talking bad about you. You went 4-8. You went 4-8. When I'm asking you about your son and his scandal, his $13 million scandal, that really happened. But I get it, because his last name is Sanders. I can't talk about him. So Deion Sanders don't like a columnist. He goes to the administration. He goes to the school. And what I don't like about it, the school's supposed to say, Deion, what? You want us to kick him out? I want you to ban him. You really want us to do this? Yeah. Why? Do you want us to ban him because of what he's saying, or do you want us to ban him because of who you are? I believe it's both, to me. And you do it. But Deion, if you didn't want this columnist, I don't know how many people read a column. It ain't a lot of people. A lot of people going to be reading this column now because of you, Deion. So I don't like it. I don't like the fact that Deion comes off, looking real thin-skinned, Jason, think about this. How is he going to tell his players, hey, man, y'all don't let what people say get to you. Don't let what people say bother you, right? And he also said that he didn't like the fact that Paul Feinbaum said that they're irrelevant. And he said they're only relevant because of you. He said, I don't worry about haters. Deion, that's the truth. Do anybody talk about Jackson State now? No. Why do people talk about Colorado? Because everything you do is film. And why you do that? Because your son is filming it. I'm not mad that he got his son a job and filming him and all that. But Jason, I'm not calling Deion soft. I'm calling the gesture soft. That is soft. You don't like a columnist from the Denver Post talking bad about you? What you want him to say? Hey, Deion, y'all the best 4-8 team in the country. That's about that. That's an oxymoron. The best bad team? No. So for me, when I heard about it, I didn't like it. But Deion, let me tell you something. When you say things like, I'm here for more than just football, no the hell you not. You here to win games. And when you're not winning games, Jace, you know what you do? You talk about everything else you do. Man, you know what? You know our GPA? You know what we did last year? Did you win? No. We don't want to talk about that. Okay. How do we judge Nick Saban? How do we judge Coach Day? How do we judge Kirby Smart? The best coaches in the country. Notice I said the best coaches in the country, because Deion might be the most influential. They can judge off of wins and losses. Jason, you root for them Dolphins. If Mike McDaniel said, you know what I do away from this field, I don't care. You got to win, Mike. We only listen to your weird little shenanigans and your BMW that you're driving and your tailored pants and your Air Force One customs, cause you win. Cause if you wasn't winning, Jason be like, hey, man, I don't want to talk about no Mike McDaniels, man. I don't care about no offense if it don't work. So Deion, win some games, win a lot of them, and then we want to talk about that because you using the fact that, when we talk about my son, well, guess what? Everybody killed on that team is somebody's son. Their last name ain't Sanders, though. So I didn't like it. I'll never like it. And as a person that's been in a media room before, if I would have been in there, that would have probably been my last time, because I would have came at Deion not to challenge him. I would have challenged his perspective.
Yeah, I got two takes about that. First thing, I was in the United States Marine Corps, and I was put in leadership positions quite a few times. And quite a few times, as a young man, learning how to lead and, not taking criticism correctly in the correct way. So I was talked to about that and, mentored, I guess, if you will. And I'll never forget Gunny Jones. He sat me down one time and he said, listen, every time in your life you're in a position of leadership, people are going to look to specifically take you down. And look, at the college football level, if you will, there's no higher, well, maybe if you're somewhere in administration, but there's no higher leadership position than the college football coach. So again, you have to expect criticism. That is what their job is. They're going to nitpick. Any little thing goes wrong. You brought up great points. If you ain't winning, now if they're winning, boy, Deion, and it's everything's great and humbly go glory. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not winning, you have to expect the criticism, and you have to be mature enough to let it roll off your shoulder. To your point, anyway. I know you wanted to talk about. I know ESPN did a little bit of a couple of firings. I know you brought up RG3 in our little before we got on. What are your thoughts on him being fired?
It shocked me. It shocked me because RG3 is one of those big time personalities for ESPN, because he can do any game. Obviously, he can do track. He can do almost anything. Yeah, but he took on his role in a different way. Different, just breaking down X and O's. Listen, he's at Clemson running down the hill, right? He's doing the traditions of these schools that he's going to. He's going to see the fans, as you talked about, Jason, with the tailgating and the atmosphere of college football. But he knew that. But I think they said something about he was up for renegotiation. And here's the thing, Jason. Hey man, my resume gets me in the door. But once I produce, when I get there, hey man, I told y'all last year's price ain't this year's price. Now, I know that RG3, I know he got another podcast, already, going, and so he's definitely going to land on his feet. But sometimes you just, you outpace who hired you. RG3 is not going to make he's not going to make an excuse about it. him and Miss Ponder, she got, Christian Ponder's wife, she got fired as well. When you work for big entities, and they paying you big money, when it comes to them budget cuts, they're gonna say, hey, where can we afford to cut, where can we afford to cut some weight? And who's gonna be a problem with negotiations moving forward? They say RG3. That's RG3. So sometimes getting fired ain't a bad thing. It's just the fact that, hey man, everybody ain't CD Lamb that cannot play in the whole freaking offseason. I mean, the whole freaking preseason and get $138 million. Jerry Jones is the worst general manager in football history. I just got to throw that out there. He's the worst. I don't care what anybody says. Worst decision maker in football. But RG3, man, listen, man, if you ever want to come on No Weddings in the Fall, man, we here, baby. Come through, holler at us. You always will.
Come on in and host RG3. What the hell am I talking about? I'll go kick to the back for RG3. Come on now. One other point I wanted to bring up. I just started rambling and forgot about the Deion situation because you brought up a good point about nobody would be looking at this guy's articles until Deion. So it's almost like you're cutting yourself below the knees by sitting here saying, oh, I don't want this guy, banned on what I'm talking about. But now all of a sudden, this guy's got his own little fan base and notoriety now. It's like those people who I see all these videos all the time are like, I don't want to be filmed. And they make this big deal, but yet they don't realize that they're making now a video for this person by going crazy about it. Just move about your business, bro. Who cares? And you wouldn't hear it. You know what I mean? So just back to that point. But yeah, with the RG3 situation, again, ESPN has been doing this quite a bit, the big entity as you described. So again, the cost-cutting measures, obviously RG3 with the, wants some big money, of course. But, if you don't want to get paid, come on, nobody's in the fall. All right, let's go on to, let's talk about RG3. It's a good segue getting into play on the field. So, obviously the NFL season is about to kick off. I have a question for you. College football, we're talking specifically play on the field. Do you feel the product is better than the NFL?
Yes. Let me say this, and you use the right word. I think the product is better? Yes. Are the players better? No. The best players in the world, they play in the NFL. The product. Because, once again, Jason, it's a Saturday afternoon, right? You got a wide array of games to pick, right? You're more than likely going to find a good product with all these choices, because the NFL, what makes the NFL different is you will pick the game according to who's playing, like the team and the players themselves. Meaning, if you got to pick between, Miami versus Florida State, and Arizona versus Cleveland, and the difference is, you're going to pick a product in college football with other games going around. NFL, you'll say, well, you ain't even got that many choices. You ain't really got that many. Sometimes Monday night, you like, this is the best Monday night game they could have picked. Come on, man. So I think for me, the product on the field in college football is better for this reason. They're trying to get to the league. You're going to get some players that's putting it on the line, and I'm looking for that next household name. Household names in the NFL started in college. You have some guys, they became household names in college. You want to see if they can build it, but I'm never going to say the players are better, because they're not. And let me say this too. I know what you're saying, Jay. Are you saying they're amateurs in college? Hell no. No. That is a lot of things. Amateurism ain't one of them. I don't know what's in between. I don't know what's a step above amateur and a step below pro. That's college. They're not amateurs. How do I know? Well, coaches make millions of dollars. They got billion-dollar TV deals. They're merging conferences, right? They got their own networks, ESPN Network, SEC Network, ESPN Plus, ESPNU. So you don't do that for amateurs. People say, what you do for amateurs? Make sure that their helmet is on right and they're not eating candy in between plays, because these are little kids we talking about. But no, the product in the NFL, the product in college is better. The games, it just depends. Listen, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Tua can't play in every freaking game. Those are good. Those games are gonna be good, because it comes down to quarterback play. Quarterback play in the NFL, you got the top 10 quarterbacks, and there is a freaking huge drop off. There's a freaking it's just a ripple effect past the top 10. In college, it could be a kid that go to Montana State slinging it. It could be a kid that go, it don't got to be a big time, college. Big time college. Because when you think about Trey, what is it? Jordan Love, North Dakota State. They play in Colorado. Top 10 pick. So I like the product in college football. Still love the players in the NFL because it ain't as many teams. But I want to get your thoughts on that, Jason. You listen. You are more NFL than college. If you had to pick, this is and with a primetime game. You got your Dolphins versus the Bills. And let me get a scenario. You got every team I'm finna mention, they all good. Everybody's good. But you got your Dolphins versus the Bills. But the Hurricanes versus Georgia. Hurricanes ranked number 2, Georgia ranked number 1. And just say the NFL just happened to have a Saturday game. And they both in the same slot, both in the 3:30 slot. I know your loyalty to the Dolphins. Do you think about it? Do you say, no, I'm going Dolphins, versus the Bills? Or do you go, oh, no, man. Canes playing them Bulldogs. Who does Jason Cooper pick?
You did. First of all, you set me up with the easiest scenario ever because I have the easiest answer for you. Every Sunday, I get out 3 or 4 TVs out of my living room, so I watch it all. So I watch both of them. I'm good with that. So you set me up nicely with that. But if I respectfully disagree, which is good because if I sit here and agree all night, we're gonna be boring. I like the product on the NFL, and this is going back to what I mentioned earlier about the rankings. Now I'm bringing it full circle because I feel like the way the NFL is set up, there is no question what team was good, there is never a controversy. A team was up. That to me makes me sick to my stomach. I hate that more than anything. I, in fact, went to the national championship game. And Dick Vitale actually was 2 rows ahead of us, which was really fun. When Georgia Tech played Notre Dame, Rocket Ismail, I remember it specifically, ran a kickoff back. There was a flag on the field. It was crazy, right? But in that season, it was this crazy scenario where Miami actually, and there was a reason why we even went to the game because we were excited because Miami won their game, their playoff. And I apologize, so long ago. I don't remember who they played, but they won their bowl game. And somehow, some way, if Notre Dame would have won, we would have split the national champ. I'm like, what? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why do you want that? Why would you even invite that? And to me, to sit here and have a bunch of stiff suit bureaucratic people sitting around being like, well, yeah, I like this team on paper. Excuse my friend, who the hell are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, put the product on the field and let that be the judge. Let that. I don't want to see rankings. I don't care what you think. I want to see the teams on the field. So set it up. I don't know how. I know there's a bunch of teams, mind you. So I know that there's issues with the way that could be structured. But I think at least for a playoff, they need to structure it more in the NFL where it's based on wins and losses and not the way some stiff country boy in the back feels about his team playing this year, in my estimation. Go ahead, man. I see you.
Hold on. But you said something though. I think what sold me what you said is there are no split Super Bowl.
Right.
It's gonna be one. And you saying to yourself, look, I played my whole season. I won my bowl game, and somebody say, hey, if this happens over here, you guys can split. So am I a full national champion or am I split down the middle? And because the thing is, too, people say, what is rankings for? Rankings are to let an entire group of colleges know you have no shot to win the Natty. Look, before the season even starts, because people say it should be about the current season. It's never about the current season in college. It's all about who are big names in this conference, who are big time coaches in this conference, who do we want to see at the end of the year. So if you ain't in the top 25 and if you ain't in the SEC or the Big Ten, you can't get in. So you telling me if we go undefeated at SMU, who cares? And that's kind of what the rankings are to kind of let a lot of colleges know, where do I sit, man? What, in the college football landscape? You in it. You on the game. Shout out to NCAA 2025. You on the game. But you talking about winning it all? No. Basically, if the NCAA tournament was college football, it's a bunch of Cinderellas out there. You invited to the ball, but you ain't finna be no pro. That's going to be Georgia and Clemson and Ohio State, because college football, the one thing about it is if you a big name, you gonna remain a big name. We ain't gonna let nobody else sneak in. So yeah, you do make a good point. When you said the split natty, I like, yeah, man, I finally make it to the national championship. I got to split it. Get out of here. Co-national champions? Come on, man.
Yeah, and that, again, the fact that this is a game sound like, but it's like I was in the military. It's almost war, almost like you're not killing each other, but you're going to war out there. So to sit here and to go to war and but then to be, because someone didn't recognize what I did, I don't get the glory at the end. That is complete nonsense. It's very, to me, and again, I don't know what I don't know, but why not just break all these conferences up and start doing it, again, like the NFL does. You got a division record, you get conference record, you play a little out of conference games, the same deal. And that's how you get in. And you don't get in because you didn't qualify. You have to win on the football field, not because someone ranked you didn't rank you at the beginning of the season. And now you've gone through this whole gamut of games and won, but we're not going to let you get the payoff in the end. That's complete BS. And that's why, again, I go back to the pro game versus the college.
Jason Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, the new NCAA commissioner. Hey, listen, and the first thing he's gonna do when he walk in and say, hey, everybody stop moving for a second. Listen, everybody that work here, yeah, you're out of here. Fire, done. We finna start from scratch. We go
fire, as your boy would say. All right, let's go on. One last thing before we're going to talk about the games coming up. But for this upcoming season, give me your thoughts. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most?
The thing I'm looking forward to the most are these teams that these Georgia Tech type teams, not in the top 25. But have a big enough name and a big enough tradition that people got to take notice, because people say, how do you take notice to a team that's not ranked? Beat the teams that are beat the teams that are ranked, because 12-team playoff, people, it's gonna be crazy. I know everybody says it's gonna be a 12-team playoff, but let me tell you something about that. If I'm a team like a SMU, right, that's in a new conference, right? And I'm saying to myself, how can I make some noise? Man, you got to show and prove every week. Because the thing about college football is, no matter what people say, I know people say the NFL is quote scripted. It ain't. But people that's not true. If you don't want college football to look scripted, man, listen, man, throw some little chaos in there. Let people know, hey, man, we here for real. You can't be scared of listen, I get it. The Oregons and the Ohio States and the Georgias, what do they all have in common? Heisman Trophy hopefuls. How good is your quarterback? Because if you got a good quarterback, you got a shot to win a bunch of games. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of these, quote, these tier 2 teams, right? These mid-major teams. Remember Boise State back in the day with Kellen Moore? They won every freaking thing. People say, no, they didn't. Yeah, they beat a Georgia team in the Georgia Dome first game of the year when they had Kellen Moore. When Georgia had them Power Ranger looking you, they'll never wear them uniforms again because they got beat in them. I'm looking forward to that, Jason, because as I get older, I think about how privileged and spoiled I was going to the University of Florida, not even realizing it. I'm thinking everybody get all that. Steve Spurrier and the facilities and the players and the coaches. And then you go to the league and realize, no, dude, we don't get none of that. They'll say, we weren't as good as y'all, but we ain't have what y'all had. If we had what y'all had, now play us. Because, listen, if the playing field ain't right, and of course we're going to beat y'all if the O-line is the D-line. That's how the teams we used to play. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most, though. I want to see these mid-major teams that's on the game get a chance to show. And if you got to go all the way to Dublin to do it, do it. You got to go to Dublin, Ireland to do it. Because listen, I'm a boxing fan. And they used to always say, it ain't how many fights you had, it's who you fought. Did you fight anybody? Okay. Well, listen, Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. He couldn't beat him twice, but he beat him when he fought him, right? If you got to have that mentality, beat him. Because just like I know, Jason, as long as everything, listen, one of my favorite movies is the Batman with the Joker on now. I think it's Batman Begins or the Batman Returns, when he says, listen, as long as everything goes to plan, nobody cares. As long as it's a part of the plan. He said, but what about when I go up against the plan? Go against that plan. Right? I just want to see plans get messed up. I want to see teams that haven't been in a prestigious elite position get to know, because there's 12 teams, right? If Georgia and the Ohio State are the best team in the country, it shouldn't matter who get in. Well, all I remember everybody want to talk about the Beastquake, right? When Marshawn Lynch had that big time run against New Orleans, they didn't even have a winning record, and they went up against New Orleans and beat them. I'm just saying, I just want to see the chaos, because I don't want to be this fairy tale ending these big time coaches at these big time schools making all the freaking money saying, "Oh my God, this is our year." Get out of here, Ohio State. What about Syracuse? Huh? What about Maryland? What about those type of teams? I want to see a team that's got a good program but haven't been given a fair shot. Find a way to disrupt all that stuff at the top, all of it.
I love it. I mean, now, so I disagreed in the last one. Totally agree with you here. That's so to the point I talked about earlier about ranking these teams and with them not really having the I guess the I don't know where I'm looking for. Ranking these teams prior to them playing on the football field. There we go. I could split that out. Is silly to me. So I enjoy watching these teams that have no shot. No one really thought about it. And all of a sudden I'll get like an alert on Saturday, upset alert. And, it's like, oh, snap.
Oh, yeah.
So then, got to get to that game. Let's go watch this game. That's the fun, exciting part. It's the same like with college basketball's March Madness, where these teams that have no shot, you think got no shot, all of a sudden come out and do something. Gotta love the underdog story. That's another part of college football that I like, because as you know, in the NFL, as they say, any given Sunday, any team can show up and beat any other team. But it's the same in college too, though. It's the same thing. Any given Saturday, some team could just show up, had some good carbohydrates the night before, and the other team was out partying, and you in trouble. Because here they come. So, yeah, definitely interesting for sure. All right, Ben. Well, this week we got some games to talk about. Let's see what we're going to watch. All right. I just realized I got the pro. I got to switch that to a college one, too. I got to have a college and a pro besides Bosa. All right. So let's start we'll start from the bottom up to the top. Let's start with the one I want to talk about. It's the U against your Gators. Miami ranked 19th going in this one, heading into the swamp. Let's talk about this matchup. What your thoughts are?
I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm biased, it being my former, about my alma mater. But I think it's good for college football for two reasons. Florida and Miami are two of the big three, with the third being Florida State. And you're renewing a rivalry that I think it'd be too many seasons in between. The last time Florida played Miami was the first game of the year, Dan Mullen's first game. Coach Diaz was the head coach over there at Miami. I like the fact that you got two prestigious schools trying to get back to not just being nationally relevant because of who they are, but because of what they do. Yes, the U is always going to be relevant. Yes, Florida's always going to be relevant. That's based off what you've done. Miami got 30 for 30s. Florida got Netflix specials of Swamp Kings, but that's based on who you were. Them guys that played back then got grades in their beard like me, like me and you, Jason. Them boys got kids now like us. Listen. And I think for Florida and Miami, Mario Cristobal has one more win than Billy Napier. Neither one has lived up to the expectation thus far. Guess what? Orange and blue versus orange and green. South Florida coming up to North Florida, but it's in the swamp. And I think 93,000 strong going to be doing their part to try to help disrupt everything Miami's going to do. Both teams need it. I just think Florida needs to win more because Florida has the hardest schedule in the country, people. The hardest schedule in the country. All them top 10 teams we talked about, Florida played, Florida plays Georgia. Florida plays Texas. Florida plays Ole Miss. Florida plays LSU. Yeah, that's what Florida plays Texas A&M. Florida got a schedule. Florida plays UCF. Florida plays FSU. Listen, I know I went to UF, but the freaking freaking odds makers and freaking schedule makers, they gave us a big FU when it comes to this schedule. This schedule is crazy, but I do like it, though, because I like the fact that both teams are starting out with big-time opponents. One's ranked because of, I don't know why Miami's ranked, but they are. That's another thing. And Florida isn't. I think it's gonna be fireworks, man. 3:30 in the swamp. It's gonna be hot. hot. And I'm just looking forward to it because you know how it is, Jason. You coming out the gate swinging. Hey, man, it ain't going to be no love lost on each side, but I think it's going to be a good game this weekend.
Yeah, excited to see it. I'm not going to talk too much trash on these Hurricanes because, back in the day when I was in school, I had a lot to say, but now getting a little quiet lately. But can I just ask, bring that back, man? Luther Campbell, get on this sideline. Like, let's go, man. Let's bring back the you and start talking that trash again because that was when we was on top of things, unfortunately.
Listen. The greatest college football team that I've ever seen or experienced is 2001 Miami, and yes, I had to play against them. Yeah, I had to play against 2001 Miami, and all I can say is, hey man, it was a lot of Epsom salt and ice going on the next day. It was a little rough with them Hurricanes back in the day, man.
Love it. It'll be interesting. Obviously, not that same caliber matchup, but it'll be fun nonetheless. All right, let's go. You kind of let the cat out of the bag with this one, but let's hear your reasoning. You got number 7 Notre Dame versus number 20 Texas A&M. You called upset alert. What do you say about this?
The reason why I say it's upset alert, listen, Notre Dame, I mean, they got a lot on the line because all they have is their regular season. Marcus Freeman has been able to really have a nice turnaround right there. Mike Elko comes over from Duke, head coach of Texas A&M. Texas A&M just needs something to feel good about. Jimbo Fisher gave him all that money for nothing. Like, what did you get? Nothing. They said when he left, he took his 30 Christmas trees in his mansion, left them on the front lawn, and made the trash man pick them up. Just disrespectful out of College Station. Mike Elko is a good coach. How do I know? He used to be the head coach at Duke. Not basketball, football. And he coached well enough to where now he's in Texas. That's all money, people. Yeah. So for me, Notre Dame, not as loaded as Ohio State, but they loaded now. Notre Dame got some players. But once again, Jason, just like Florida State, Georgia Tech, Texas A&M said, well, we get to play loose. Why? Ain't nobody expecting us to do nothing. We're the other team in Texas. We're not UT. We Texas A&M. We in Austin. We in College Station. We are the Mets. They're the Yankees. All right? So we get it. But that's Notre Dame over there. And we're going to see, hey, man, they're going to have some real nice uniforms on. But Texas A&M, like, hey, if we lose, that's what we're supposed to do. Well, this is the year of chaos. What if we didn't get the memo? Sorry, we didn't get the memo being in this. So we're going to go ahead and try to get that done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, a lot of parity right now. So now we're getting into where we have ranked teams playing each other. So we're going to find out what Notre Dame's made of right off the jump. So I'm excited to see that matchup. And speaking of seeing what teams are made of, you got the numero uno Georgia Bulldogs versus number 14 Clemson. Great ACC versus SEC matchup. What are your thoughts on this one? I know you said upset alert earlier. Those are your boys, though. Was that a real thing you're saying? Or
listen. I'm giving you what I hope to happen. That's probably not actually probably what's gonna happen. Because here's the thing. It's like staring in the mirror. Remember when Clemson was one of the premier schools in the country? Dabo Swinney, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Travis Etienne, Dexter Lawrence, and they was loaded. Yeah, well, that was back then. Now Georgia told Clemson, "Hey, listen, we know y'all used to be here. We got the number 1 spot, and we ain't going nowhere. I know we ain't win the national championship last year, but we did go back to back. Then they didn't want us to have the 3-peat, so now we trying to go for another one." Clemson is gonna have a good enough team to stay on the same field with Georgia, and guess what? That don't mean nothing. Georgia is the best team at the halftime. They do the best halftime adjustments you're ever gonna see. But only college football can do this. Only college football can make us care about dudes named Kirby and Dabo. Only college football can do that. Head coach Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney. I think it's going to be a good game for 2 quarters. I think for Clemson, they better hope that's the second half and not the first half, because once Georgia wake up, it's going to get ugly, because it used to be a time that Clemson kind of would have their way with Georgia. And the one thing about football players or men in general, we petty as hell. I remember who used to do me wrong, and I hope I see him again. Well, not Dabo, who used to be at the top of the hill. It's now at the bottom of the hill trying to climb up. And Georgia saying, hey, man, remember back in the day, man, how y'all used to do us? Oh, man, you ain't still worried about that. Hell yeah, I'm worried about it. And I'm coming for some get back. So good game, but I think second half, I want to see an upset, but I might just be upset that, Georgia's just that good. They are really the number one team, rank it or not. I think Dabo Swinney and them, it's going to get ugly second half.
Listen, all I know is you want to talk about petty. I hate Nick Saban, and you know why? Because all he sat there, came down to Miami to the Dolphins, chewed away is the word I could guess say. Drew Brees and Dante Culpepper, then wins one game and says, I'm not going back to college. And then he goes back to college. So I'm petty. I hate Nick Saban. And has another one. Pete Carroll. This is real petty. Back in the 90s. This is back in the 90s when homeboy coached the Jets. Pete Stoyanovich, pulling out names, misses a field goal, and this guy goes like this. I never forget it. I still hate Pete Carroll for it. That's what I'm talking about. You're totally right. I love being petty. But it'll be a good matchup. Nonetheless, hey, you know what? Like you said, college football is here. We got the number one team in the country playing a highly ranked team. So how can you not go wrong with that? I'm super excited for that. All right. Well, we're going to close things out tonight. Just want to say we appreciate you. Check us out back next week. I know we've been a little helter-skelter with the schedule, but check us back next week. We're going to we're getting into the season now. We're going to talk about the week that was. We're going to talk about the week that is. And plus, we got some NFL stuff now coming up as well. So got a lot of great stuff. Make sure you stay here with Scoop and Skadoop. Look at that. You can do that real quick. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, get a comment, get all that stuff in. Follow us on social media as well. On Twitter, all that kind of good stuff. I don't think I set the Instagram up yet, so my bad. But we'll get on that. But yeah, follow us, do the whole thing. Ben, any last thoughts before we head out?
Listen, man, I appreciate you, Jason, man, as always. As y'all gonna be seeing these faces, y'all gonna be seeing us every week. Just listen, you can do a lot of things this fall. You can renovate your house, right? You can have a baby. Congratulations, that's what you want to do. Look. You can slim down for the fall. I bet not catch you in no church getting married. Not because we don't celebrate marriage, but if you're a real football fan, you tell your fiance this, sweetie, I can marry you in the spring. I can marry you in the summer. I can even marry you in the winter. I can't marry you in the fall. You're going to say, why? Because I'm married to the game. College and NFL, that is. I am Ben Troop. He is Jason Cooper. This is no weddings in the fall. And listen, you be you, I'm going to be Troop. He going to be Jason. And if you catch me in a wedding on Saturday, I'm lost. That's that. I'm just lost. Pull me out, and I'll lie and say I was somewhere else. Listen, I got married this summer. Here go the ring to prove it. July is not hot as hell, but it ain't the fall. So I live by the moniker. It is more than just a name.
Absolutely. Gotta love it. Don't want to see you in them churches. That's for sure. All right, guys. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week, and we are out.